That's what I don't like.
And scene. Bonus YouTube. YouTube is the bonus.
Still awful low budget. This is why Patreon is so necessary. Not saying that we are worth paying for, because we're not, but
No.
I'm
We're
glad you agree.
100%.
We're really not, though. This is why we're doing it
100%
now.
I agree.
But
It's an
this
exercise.
is why
yeah.
shows need Patreon. Like a good show, you know?
A good show needs
Something
Patreon. Absolutely.
With necessary content needs Patreon
Yeah.
to, have a background and
We have a background.
well, no, have like an electronic green screen
Yeah. That'd be fun.
background.
If we had a background, what's the picture you would put behind us right now?
Just a gray wall. Oh, there we go. We're
Hashtag
good.
irony.
Irony.
Irony is my second favorite literary device.
Your first.
Automatopoeia.
You just like saying onomatopoeia, I think.
No, you know what though? I like saying the word automatopoetically.
That's a word?
Automatopoetically, yeah. So like you don't know the definition of a word, but based on the sounds of the word, it makes sense in your head what that word means.
That's what that means?
That's automatopoetically.
Interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, and if anybody was watching on the bonus YouTube, they could troll in and say how close I was on the definition of that. But I'm pretty sure that's pretty bang on. Automatopoeia though, it's because I'm more of a comic book fan, right? Bam, pow,
and we're live.
Zoom
again. Bing. Okay, I see why you like onomatopoeias. We're talking about onomatopoeias today.
Yeah, we are.
That's the content.
Our favorite literary devices, and let's have a discussion therein about them.
So I was telling Mike Chisholm I threw my back out, which
Yeah.
no one that tunes in live is going to know that.
No.
Because there's no one here right now.
That's
if you
right.
watch this video back and you were live, you're like, oh, that's why he sounds like that.
Yeah. Poor guy. I feel bad, man.
Don't feel bad for me. No. My mom and my fiance both. We're not going to feel bad for you. You made your decisions. They still do from time to time.
I still feel bad for you. You've
bad for me.
You've entertained literally dozens of people, and in doing that have hurt yourself physically, potentially forever.
Literally dozens. Like I just snuck that in. You've hurt yourself for literally dozens of people. But I think I've gotten more out of wrestling than the fans have, to be honest. It's
absolutely
fed my ego quite nicely.
Yeah, and I mean you've chased your dream. You went after something that without any necessarily fleshed out outcome, you just chased it for the sake of chasing it, which is awesome. And that has led you to do that with this. And one day an opportunity where you do that same exercise will lead to something fantastic, and it has already.
But
so I dig it.
My point is,
yes,
when I'm hurt or in pain, there's no reason for anyone to feel sorry for me because I made my own decision. And it's not like I wrestled for 10 years and then went, oh, I never really thought about the consequences of being thrown through tables off of 15-foot steel cages.
Sure.
Like when you do it, you look at it, you're like, well, this is going to fuck me up for the rest of my life.
Yeah.
Fuck it. Let's do it anyways.
Okay. So by that logic, nobody should feel sorry for a guy like Johnny Knoxville?
No, not at all.
100%.
Like for all the jackass stuff he's done and for him being in pain or
sure.
what?
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about? Or does he have another condition I don't know about?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean,
no, absolutely not. Plus, you should feel more sorry for me than you feel for Johnny Knoxville. That dude's loaded. I did this and I can still barely afford my mortgage.
So the risk reward on him paid out a little bit more.
Don't feel sorry for Johnny Knoxville.
All right, I don't feel sorry for him.
That's ridiculous.
All right, I take
also,
it back.
Johnny Knoxville is tough as fuck.
Yeah, well,
you watched the Rubber Bullet? Where they all covered their nuts and got hit with rubber bullet grenade, and everyone was like Bam was crying in tears, and Johnny Knoxville just stands there and is laughing, and he's getting pelted, like fucking pelted.
Oh, yeah, that's terrible.
But and Johnny Knoxville would probably say the same thing. Don't feel sorry for me.
Yeah, maybe.
Plus, I don't want people to feel sorry for me for any reason.
Yeah, it's not that I feel sorry for you. I wish I could take that pain away from you, though. I mean, you did.
That's because you're a friend, though.
Yeah, that's right.
That's on you have empathy.
I do,
which a lot of people
in spades. I've got shovelfuls of it.
Do you ever feel like you have too much empathy?
I
Sometimes?
do actually.
Yeah,
there are many times where I feel that way. And because sometimes I feel like, because I am a very empathetic person, I feel sometimes that it isolates me from the rest of humanity around me because
there's such a lack of empathy.
Yeah, partially, and also because I don't know whether it's, some people say, oh, it's because you're a Pisces, or oh, it's because you're, I don't know, whatever that may be, that I'm a peace and love person, and that there are just other people out there who aren't peace and love people, and there are more people out there who aren't peace and love people than there are who are.
That could be a consequence of the system as a whole, though. But the crazy thing is, if there's a majority of people that are just fucking assholes, then who's to say it's not the right thing to just be a fucking ass? Because isn't it really right and wrong just the consensus? Or is there an underlying moral responsibility that's just natural and inherent?
That's a great point.
That's the awful question.
Yeah, like right and wrong. Did we define what right and wrong is? I mean, they talk about natural laws, like taboos, right? How just things, they just don't naturally feel right. And then we can beat the shit out of those taboos and just go against them anyway. It'd be interesting to know if, thousands of years ago, before our genetic code became what it was, if there were other definitions of right and wrong that just have gone by the wayside since then.
I think the definition of what is right and what is wrong will always change over time. It's all nature over nurture, right? Or wait, no, nurture over nature. It's all environment is what I'm trying to say. Anyways,
has it changed in our lives?
We're sorry, we're getting off topic.
No, we're not. No, we're not. I disagree. I don't think we are. What is our topic today?
You're gonna pull it. No. You go ahead. Close the loop, as we say.
Okay, our topic today, we're gonna be talking about conspiracies, right? And I think that my question is, has the definition of right and wrong changed in our lives? I think conspiracies are a fantastic example of how there are people out there or groups out there who believe in a certain right or a certain wrong, and will go so far to protect that truth in their mind. Truth is the truth.
We're gonna use that a lot.
That they will, we are gonna use that a lot today. That they will create a conspiracy or allow a conspiracy to be created over it.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point. Well, okay, let's make this official. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the World of Gray pre-podcast Facebook Live.
Yeah.
In a world divided by black and white arguments, me and Mr. Chisholm here are here to explore the world of gray.
Yeah.
I am Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid, Colin Cutler.
And I am the yet to be named Mike Chisholm, other than my birth name.
Sure.
Yeah.
So today we're talking about conspiracies. What are your favorite conspiracies? What does conspiracy even mean? How do conspiracies affect our culture? I have a few other things to get into on this topic, but we're meant to just have a little bit of fun here today, or we're meaning to have a little bit more fun than our usual serious-ish topics.
Yeah.
Serious-ish.
Use
serious
that
is
very loosely.
As serious as we can get.
Yeah. Serious by two idiots.
So I'm wearing my ridiculous gimmick hat just to show that I'm not serious at all today, or usually.
I have bicycles on my shirt.
You want to ride your bicycle?
Yeah. I sing the bicycle song.
I started. So what are your favorite, Mike Chisholm, what are some crazy conspiracies you've heard? Which ones do you believe? Do you believe in any? And do you think conspiracies as a whole are harmful to society and to culture? Pick one of those questions.
All right.
Or all.
Well, I mean, if you're going to have an example of a conspiracy, like a modern day conspiracy, there is an alarming number of people who do not believe that the attacks in New York, the 9/11 attacks, happened. That they were.
Did you say recent?
Well, recent is within the last. Yeah, recent is within our lifetimes.
I think that is a good place to start, though, because I feel like although there have been proven conspiracies within government in the past,
yes,
9/11 was one of the first mainstream conspiracies as the digital age blew up.
Yes.
Right. Not Fahrenheit 9/11 so much, because Which one
No.
was that?
Yeah,
Moore?
Fahrenheit 9/11 was the
that
reaction
Alex
to
Jones?
that was Michael Moore.
Okay.
One of Michael Moore's docs.
That one wasn't so much a conspiracy one. That was a piss poor example. But the first Zeitgeist movie blows it up and has gotten huge criticism. The whole trilogy has gotten a lot of criticism because of that one particular part of the documentary, which if you follow Peter Joseph, which I do almost scarily religiously, it wasn't really the whole overall point of those trilogies, but it does get brought up a lot. Loose Change was kind of the first one that blew up. First one that kind of opened my eyes a bit to the fact that the world isn't quite what we think it is. So I personally remember when 9/11 happened, being so young that I didn't even comprehend the severity of what happened.
Yeah, I remember that too. I'll admit something here. I was phoned by somebody on the East Coast because it was like 5 a.m. our time when it happened, when the first building was attacked.
Yeah.
And I was phoned by somebody on the East Coast and they just said, turn on CNN. And I'm like, all right. And so I turned it on. It was 5 a.m.
How old are you at this point?
So this is 2001.
Correct.
And we're in 2018 right now.
Correct.
So 17 years ago.
Yes.
What's 42 minus 17?
It's the weekend. I didn't think you're going to make me do math.
You're getting the calculator out. I love it.
No, you do the math. This is your thing.
Okay. I was 42 minus 17. That's how old I was.
So you're in your mid-20s, correct?
Yeah.
So you got to be 20s. A little more aware of what's going on than he has like a 13-year-old.
I was working at Costco, and so and my manager Rick, who I'm still friends with this day, I remember kind of sitting in shock as it happened. And so that was once I got to work though. So at 5 a.m, I got a call. And I turned on CNN and I saw the fire in New York happening. I saw that the World Trade Center was attacked and I saw that a plane had hit the building. And I so agree with what you said about not being able to kind of process the severity of the occasion, because I fell asleep for about 15 minutes with CNN on, but it was early and I was just, I'm not used to getting up till like 7 at this point in my life. And I fell asleep again. And when I woke up, it was just after the second plane hit. And I remember feeling the fear and the sadness almost immediately. And then I went to work. I went to Costco because I worked there at the time in the marketing department. And I went there and my job in the marketing department was to go out into the community and deal with businesses and different groups. And I basically went to Costco and we went into the TV section and all that was on was CNN. And basically out of the, 90 employees that were there, probably 40 of them, including the warehouse manager, were sitting there watching. And I remember him saying to us, look, just try and go about your day as best you can. If anybody needs to go home, they can go home. And I remember I went out of the store, with the intention of doing my job. And I ended up going over to my friend's house and just watching the coverage on TV because it was the gravity. It took a while for the gravity to hit me as to what was happening. You were in elementary school when the 9/11 attacks occurred?
I was definitely in middle school. So either grade 7 or grade 8. So I was either 13, 14, somewhere around there. I'm not doing math because that's not my thing.
It's Saturday.
I remember just waking up and my mom saying something about it on the news and being very ignorant and not the most academic kid in high school. I was like an artsy video production, PE. You know what I'm saying? I do. Really I didn't
love the kickball.
Yeah, I loved kickball. You know me, 14-year-old Cutler kicking away.
Yeah.
So that's why my kicks are so stiff.
Right.
Yeah, it's all
exactly.
That kickball.
Yeah.
But I remember her just saying something about it. I didn't know what the World Trade Center was. I mean, I remember thinking, what the fuck? Like a plane's flew into a building. That's fucked.
So they actually talked about it during your school experience. Like, was there was there an announcement over the over the PA? And
and there was. I think we all had to sit. I think we had an assembly on it. It was and talked about. I don't remember. I've had too many concussions, but I remember at the time not really understanding the implications of this, not understanding. Well, I mean, you also can't predict the future. Didn't know that we would end up in a 17 year war in Afghanistan and Iraq, you know,
Mhm.
like it's just insanity. But I do remember being 18 and when these movies started coming out, maybe even 16, 17, 18, something
Mhm.
like that. Basically an adult,
Sure.
not in maturity, but in chronological sense and the legality sense. And seeing the Loose Change documentary, and it just, I don't want to say it woke me up completely, but it made me go, what the fuck? And
Yeah.
I think that's in a weird way, even though I'm not sure how I feel about that conspiracy now, I think in a weird way that started my obsession with uh, alternative information,
Yes.
right? And not just looking at one source and being like, okay, like terrorists flew into a building. Like, let's actually start questioning things.
Yeah.
And I think that's the good part of conspiracies. But that conspiracy really caused a lot of shit.
Yeah.
And really showed just how powerful the social media digital age is. The problem is it also started it gave certain political figures the ability and power to just use the word conspiracy as a way of kind of, you know, like the Wizard of Oz, like pay
Yes.
no attention, like you just, oh, that's conspiracy. Any information, it's like Trump now with fake news, right?
Yes.
Like people that are doing shady shit that goes against the majority of the population and they don't want you to know the shady shit they're doing,
Yes.
they can just use that as a blanket. They just need something as a blanket, right? Just to do whatever the fuck they want.
Yeah.
So whether or not this conspiracy was a conspiracy or not, it bred a culture in the political world to just use conspiracy whenever, you know, you don't like something.
Yeah. You can create a new truth,
Mhm.
and you just drum up a theory, and you try and build some compelling evidence. And this is where my I have a conspiracy theory. It's a conspiracy theory that so I believe that a lot of technology, like I believe we're a lot further along technologically than the masses
100%.
get. You get organizations like DARPA who are just, think tank
Yeah.
theory building, and trying to do what they can, as much as they can, to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to technology.
Yeah.
I believe that that's where a lot of technology comes from. Don't get me wrong, it comes from research, and it comes from scientists, and it comes from all sorts of different places. It comes from the crowd. Like, I look at these kids and some of the things they're programming and they're creating out there, which is amazing. But I look at the conspiracy theory that I have is something like the internet,
Yeah.
which was created by a government agency.
I did not know that.
And well, I mean, if you talk to Al Gore, or not Al Gore, the big joke out there is that Al Gore invented the internet, right? It's, at the end of the day, it was it was definitely government led in a lot of ways, the internet that we know today. So you think about something like YouTube.
Mhm.
And to me, YouTube is the best example of a way that somebody who would choose to either use propaganda or create some sort of dissension, or you look at, there are people out there now who believe that the earth is not round because of YouTube. Look at that medium. How powerful of a medium is that? And so there are ridiculous ones. And to me, that one is a ridiculous one. Because Galileo figured it out scientifically. Voyagers and explorers figured it out, practically, and astronauts proved it, in my opinion, unequivocally.
It's all fake.
But yet, yeah, that's just it. There is an alarming number of people, who believe that. Now, that's something to me that it's a really obvious one.
Yeah.
But there are so many people that believe it. Now, what about the ones that aren't obvious? What about the ones where there are periods of gray in the middle? What about, like, you think about the JFK assassination.
Right.
Nobody is able to go out there and figure out exactly what happened based on all the theories that are out there.
Well, and let's even just go back to the 9/11 conspiracy. I'm not saying one way or the other, but Jesse Ventura is a big advocate for this conspiracy, and he has good points, not about any of the facts that he lays out. Which he does, and that's a whole nother thing. But the question is, why is there no investigation? Why can't we talk about it? Why can't we ask these questions? And there are just some ridiculous reports from like them finding the terrorist passport in a rubble where they barely could find any bodies.
Yeah.
Like with people that were in the plane, but the passport survives.
Building 6, Building 7, is that
Building
that's a big
7 just collapsing because of heat. And that's a part. And here's the thing:
money moving the day before.
Yeah.
And
there's a lot of sub conspiracies here too, right?
Oh yeah, like it's which 9/11 conspiracy are we talking about?
Yeah,
too? Like
exactly.
that's a good point.
But them going around taking all the footage from all the security cameras anywhere near where the Pentagon got hit, and they're not being like, it's the fucking Pentagon, and you have no clear shot of a plane flying into the Pentagon, and there's no wing-shaped holes. Like that shit just seems at least questionable at the very least, right? So, and I know a lot of people, a lot of normal people. I'm not saying I'm normal. So if I kind of believe it, maybe you can dismiss it. But I know a lot of normal people that don't believe any other conspiracy and are at least suspicious of that shit. Yeah,
that there was some sort of a false flag occurrence because of it. That there was something in it for whether it's the U.S. government or whoever it was, whoever potentially did it.
Right. Let's talk about what did the government get out of 9/11, right? Let's talk about all these things, like whether it's true or not. Let's just talk about certain things, right? The Patriot Act gets signed. Really cracks down on privacy for the average American, right? Like, whoa, Jesus Christ.
What happened there?
I don't know, some alert just went off.
Is that a dog thing? Is that
no? It's an alert went on through the headphones. But yeah, there's definitely things to talk about, and there's no investigation, right?
No.
Jesse Ventura is really funny because they did get a confession from somebody, but they waterboarded him. So one of the terrorists that, or he might be an actual terrorist, but one of the terrorists that took the fall, they waterboarded him to get a confession out of him. And so this news reporter is using that as a talking point when he's arguing with Jesse Ventura. It says, oh, well, they have the confession. And he says he was waterboarded. He's like, I bet you if I waterboarded you, you'd confess to the crime too.
Sure.
So you ever been waterboarded before?
I don't know about Jesse Ventura. I know about me. I'm weak. You start torturing me, I'll tell you whatever you want to know.
Yeah. Me and Jen talk about that all the time when we watch these movies. Oh, I'd be talking for sure.
Yeah.
She's like, I'd throw you under the bus if I was being tortured. But
hashtag relationships.
Oh my God, that we have the best relationship. That's why.
Yeah.
Shit like that to each other.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, it's so cute. We're adorable. But yeah, conspiracies are alive and well. I love conspiracies, not because I think they're true or want them to be true. I love the gray areas within the conspiracies. I love conspiracies that I can see evidence and be like, holy fuck, that could be a real thing. Because here's the thing, whether you like it or not, whether you want to call it a dirty word, whether you think 98.7% of them, there you go, now I'm doing math. It's theoretical, I'm making it up. But even if you think 99.9% of all conspiracies are not real, some of them fucking are.
Yeah.
And there's some that have been proven, right? Like look up the Gulf of Tonkin.
Absolutely.
That one's been proven.
Yeah.
I know nothing about it. That's why I said look it up. And we can talk about that. And just the idea of false flag attacks in general have been done before. Hitler used to use these, burn down his own congressional building or whatever, parliament building.
Sure.
Like false flags are a real strategy of war to spark war in a colonial world, right? We're in a world where we're just, consuming and consolidating power. That's just the world we live in. Russell Brand has a really good comedy special. And he's talking about how these are all things like we know. And he's like, and now we're at a point where they know we know.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Like media, everyone, powers to be, everyone knows we know. And it's just, what do you do, right? But you can talk about it, and just to be scared to even talk about these things, like we could all be wrong, but we might as well talk about it. And you go back to the flat earth conspiracy, people get all angry when you even bring it up, but it's worth discussing. Why do these people believe that this is true?
Yes.
And so when we get into these really ridiculous conspiracies, a lot of it is for people that actually believe them, right? I'm not talking about the sector like me that just listen to them because they're fun and kind of sexy.
Yeah, no. People who go deep, they get like really engaged and they get excited about
we got to
the
think
potential of this dissension.
Right. And so we say that they're the problem and they're the especially with this post-truth era, these people are the problem spreading conspiracies. But why do they believe in these conspiracies? Because who doesn't want to be part of the in-group?
Yeah.
Who doesn't want to be part of the cool kids that know something nobody else does? And the fact that there's so many of us out there that feel that way, that's a failure of our societal system. That one of the outcomes or negative externalities of our overall social system or societal system or civilization, or I guess society is the best way to put it, is that there is that dissension amongst individuals, right? And so, I mean, they're not the problem. The problem is a lot of things, right? It's a lot of information out there, and people are confused, and then they're just distrusting of institutions, right?
Sure.
So we want to believe every conspiracy that's out there.
I think it's also a personality type. Like, I think there are certain people. Like, I got a friend who he's a reporter I think he's reporting for Info News right now. His name's Marshall. He's a phenomenal guy. He is one of the I don't even know how I'd put it. He's I wouldn't say he's skeptical, but I would put him in that personality type. Skeptical people who they just don't necessarily like. They love to be skeptical about things. Like, you tell them the sky is blue and they're taking a second look to go, yeah, but like never mind something where there's a lot more, gray area there. Marshall's the type of guy who is skeptical only to the point where he wants to find the truth. He wants to uncover the truth of whatever it is. He wants to research. He wants to come to his own conclusion. So, the story that he said that he's writing, of course, is factual, but more so, his view on the world has has a solidified background and is it's just in his mind it leads to a comfortable place. I know people who are very skeptical for the sake of being skeptical, not because they want to go for truth necessarily. And I think these conspiracy theories, they play on that certain slice of the populace. And when that happens, now you've got division. And a lot of these people that I've met personally have very similar kind of MOs in the way that they deal with things. Like they don't trust, and they like to argue for the sake of arguing. So I think there's a few different slices. Then there's the people who just genuinely want to find the truth.
So kind of on the topic of just being part of a group,
sure.
we actually have some people watching on YouTube Live, which thanks, because this is very, very new, and probably the first people who even watched this on YouTube Live.
Yeah, you guys got bonus content at the beginning. We were talking about literary devices at the beginning, so rewind back to that. That YouTube only gets that. Facebook people, yeah. But maybe you get some at the end, Facebook people.
Stuck on the Web says he actually supports the spiral Earth conspiracy. Flat Earth is too mainstream nowadays, which is it's funny. It is fun to talk about this shit and kind of make fun of people that believe it. But yeah. I also want to know why people believe it. A funny story with the Flat Earth is I got really obsessed with why people believe the Earth is flat.
Yeah.
So I watched like a shit ton of these videos, and not that I almost got fooled that the Earth is flat, but some of the arguments and then some of the video manipulation
it's compelling.
Made me go, what the fuck?
This is my conspiracy theory about YouTube, because they can actually create a video medium. Like to me, it's a progression. They tell us TV is the main way that they're going to communicate, and they use it as a communication tool. But at the end of the day, TV's been used to manipulate all sorts of stuff. Remember you probably weren't even born yet. There was a show that came out, and it was hosted by the Star Trek guy who played Riker, and it was called Alien Autopsy, and it was on Fox. And it came out, and it was this supposed uncovered film footage of, I don't know if it was Roswell or wherever it was, where this alien was dissected on the table. Mm-hmm. And this is before the internet had really taken hold, and it was on Fox one night, and people went out of their minds. There was there was a TV show that came out. I don't know if it was called The Last Day on Earth. I'm trying to remember the TV. It was a TV movie, and people who kind of watched the movie, who were flipping channels and they came into it, they thought it was real. And people were really, really, baffled and terrified by this. That was just TV. There was no interaction. There was no people being able to create in the medium and throw it out to the masses. Never mind, the government. But it's really compelling. So our generation, yours and mine, has been taught to take what we're given visually as fact. even in our schools. I mean, we would watch film strips and movies and things like that so the teacher could better teach us certain things. But man, if they aren't teaching you truth, then oh my God.
The other thing with these conspiracies, unless you are just a super, super intelligent person, which I wouldn't necessarily put myself in that category.
Me neither, man.
It can be easy to be duped, especially if you watch enough of these fucking videos. I remember the only thing about the flat earth where I had like 5 minutes of like, what the fuck, was there was a bunch of videos. Like, so one of the theories of the flat earth is that the earth is flat and then there's a dome, a fermentation. Is that what they call it?
I don't know.
It's a biblical thing. The ferment.
Okay.
Ferment. Anyways, there's a dome, just like the Stephen King novel, right?
Yeah.
There's a dome, over the earth. Yeah, under the dome.
Yep.
And so there was a video of this GoPro rocket. It was a non-NASA, non-government rocket.
Yep.
No, we're not from the US. Canadian. Beat British Columbia, baby. Pot's legal now.
Yeah, it is.
Countrywide.
We also have a beautiful bomb shelter, like
free medical, which I mean socialized medical, and it's honestly not the greatest for socialized Medicare. But hey, get your president on that. So I see this video, and what it is it's a amateur rocket. It's the most powerful amateur rocket that's supposed to go the first. It's supposed to break records for amateur rockets.
Okay.
And they put a GoPro on it.
Yep.
And the video was this amateur rocket hits the dome. That's the title, right? Bam, hits the dome. So you watch this little rocket go up into the air. The GoPro is facing down towards the ground, and it goes up to, and you hear ping, and it just stops dead.
Really?
Yeah. So then the video ends, right? Ping. It sounds like it hit something. Ping. And it just stops dead. And I was like, hold on a second. This was before weed was legal. So I'm not saying I partook or anything, but maybe.
I am not under the influence of weed.
I was not under the influence of anything.
This moment.
Or was I? That's the question.
This moment.
Anyway, so in whatever influence or whatever state I was in, I watched it. What the fuck? So now I have to debunk it, right?
Sure.
Like now I have to find what the fuck this person. So I'm looking, and all I keep finding is more variations of the same fucking video. Like I'm on Google now. Like I'm beyond YouTube.
Oh, you've gone down the rabbit hole.
Yeah, I mean this all happens within like 2 minutes, right? But I'm like, no fucking way. And then I start getting a little worried. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Oh no.
Anyways, so I finally find the raw footage video of this. What it is right before, so this rocket was supposed to go off and then go into space, right?
Sure.
That's what it was trying to do as an amateur rocket. So it gets right into the stratosphere right before it could leave the atmosphere and float off into space, but it needs to lose some weight, right?
Okay.
So the rocket fuel part of the rocket, clearly I don't know anything about rocket engineering.
Part of the booster?
Yeah, the booster has a anti-rotation mechanism where it just drops weights down into the cylinder.
Okay.
So when it gets to a certain part, it goes, and the metal parts go ding into the metal cylinder.
Okay.
And then if the video would have just kept going an extra 10 seconds, the top part disengages from the bottom. The bottom part goes down to the ground, and this top part, still with the GoPro on it, floats off into space in rotation, showing a round fucking Earth.
No.
Yeah, like it's clear as fucking day. It's probably the best evidence for a round Earth. Like it would have been a better video for a round earther to grab, or someone in reality,
a round earther.
Well, that's what they call them.
I call them normal people.
Well, I'm just saying, like a round Earth.
I call them educated people.
Someone trying to prove it, I guess.
Sure.
And it's just so funny though, like for 5 minutes, and then you just feel like a fucking idiot, right? But the problem is people just want evidence to solidify their beliefs, and then they're not going to do any further because they just want to be part of that flat Earth tribe.
And that's where the YouTubes and things like that are really powerful and can be really deceptive. Is that it looks real. I mean, you think about, here's the one I got caught with, and I still don't know the answer because I see it both ways and I go both ways. I'm a huge
story of your life.
Are you oh no, are you a Neil deGrasse Tyson guy?
I am, but he has
Okay.
a bunch of sexual allegations against him right now, so we're gonna see
Alright,
how
well,
those pan out
I
before
don't
make a decision either way.
I have no judgment on Mr. DeGrasse Tyson's
It got as bad as
his night moves.
one girl said he drugged and raped her.
Okay, well, I have no dog in this fight versus Mr. DeGrasse Tyson's night moves, but I do really respect his. I do. I really respect his scientific content, and I truly did believe for about 5 years that the moon landing was faked.
Right.
I truly believe that, and it was based on. I don't even know that it was necessarily a YouTube video that did. I think before that, I think there was a it might have been on Fox, a show that actually made it onto TV. It was actually so well produced that it actually made it onto network TV, talking about how the moon landing was faked and here's how we know and all these things. And then Neil deGrasse Tyson was on Joe Rogan's podcast, and Neil deGrasse Tyson, I don't care what you want to say, whether he's paid to believe it or he actually does believe it. His case of the moon landing actually happening was very, very, very compelling. Mm-hmm. And so now I just have to go to this place where it's like, whoop, a big old question mark that I have no idea because I wasn't there. I have no idea. Video manipulation, all these things that are there, pro and con. I have no idea if the moon landing actually happened or not. And the only way that I would ever, cohesively have that belief that it did happen is if we do it again, because but does it matter? I don't know. Like, what does it matter? I do see the idea back then, though, that it would matter because of the Cold War and the superiority of that move, would be something that would be applicable to the time, place, and people involved. That being said, that's one that I am just like, I have no idea if the moon landing happened. So well done for those who, if it actually did happen, well done to those who have tried to muddy the waters, because you've muddied mine.
Yeah, and you're kind of in that place in your brain where you spent so much time collecting all this evidence about the moon landing to flip your belief into believing maybe it didn't happen, and now you're getting a compelling argument that it did happen,
right?
And now your brain is like just short circuiting, and it's like.
And meanwhile, the Illuminati is making their stuff happen because I'm confused about the moon landing happening.
Yeah, that's the other thing too, though. How much of this stuff is just distraction? There's a sub conspiracy about flat Earth, how it was created by the CIA, just to test to see how stupid people are and to see if they can manipulate people's psyches into believing shit that just is so ridiculous. Right?
This is all about the conspiracy theory that I have about this is about YouTube and the internet and stuff being created to do just that, and that sometimes they just like to fuck with us just to see if it works and how much it works, like the metrics of how it works, the percentages of people that can be fooled and how those percentages can be then manipulated to do whatever it is they want to do. I don't know. What are you reading? Oh, you're reading a comment?
Yeah.
Well, why are you reading a comment? Okay, go ahead.
This is a really good point.
Okay.
So let me just read this from Stuck on Web. Thinking that the world that we live in is a lie at any point regarding history, politics, vaccinations, and even perception of the true shape of the planet is a real measuring way of perceiving the reality for people that are frustrated and unable to gain success in their own life.
Yes.
And that, I mean, hey, that's a great point. I mean, I wouldn't say that all people that believe certain conspiracies aren't successful or aren't happy with their own success, but I do believe that some people who are not happy with their success may cling to these false realities as a way of just saying, like, "Well, the world's against me," right?
It becomes their deal.
It's not me. Yeah. It's this conspiracy against me. So
that's how they end up spending their time.
Yeah.
They just choose to like what you said. They blame their problems on it, sure, but also it just that becomes their deal. Like, I collect comic books. Oh yeah, you know what? I go online and talk to people who believe that the Earth is flat because that's what I believe. Oh, okay.
Charlie wants to know what our favorite conspiracies are. I mean, it depends how you rank them. For entertainment, flat Earth, hands down. For one that I would really, really like to know the truth one way or the other, or exactly what happened. 9/11.
Yeah,
100%.
I would like to know what happened with 9/11 too. The moon actually, like if I could go and find out. Actually, no. You know what? If there was one conspiracy, like let's say I had a Wayback Machine, I had like a DeLorean that
most people call them time machines, but you got it.
Not me. And I could actually go to a place in time and find out the truth about something. I would do about Jesus. I would go. That's the one I would. That's the one I would do for sure. I would find out if, first off, you know, if he was he, also if there was supernatural involved, or if he was just a movement of peace and love one another. I don't care. I love the idea of believing in something bigger, you know, whatever you want to call it, the universe, whatever.
Do you just call God a conspiracy?
Jesus.
You calling Jesus a conspiracy?
Jesus. 100. Were you there?
No,
I wasn't there.
I'm not religious, so this is
right.
you saying it.
I'd like to know if the man Jesus had some supernatural moxie, or if he just had some really awesome philosophical ideas. Because I wasn't there.
Everybody,
and I have faith in the philosophical ideas that he has, but I would love to know if there was supernatural involved in that whole thing. I would love to witness it with my own two eyes. That's the one I would do.
I believe God in any form, in any religion, is a representation of life. And I believe life comes from the sun. And that's as far as humans can scientifically prove.
Do you worship the sun?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I mean, I don't like pray to it and like bow to it or anything, but I believe that we should, before we start believing in stories, which in my opinion is just how religions have slowly developed, is story. It's like broken telephone, in my opinion. Just a story that has been handed down and morphed and changed, and believed by people that just need the belief in something to be better people, which I don't think is a bad thing. I think that's the beauty of religion. I think that's the good part of religion. But I think the reality of religion is these are phallic. That's not right.
Some of them are.
That's not right at all.
Some of them are.
These are fallacies.
Hey, you look in the Old Testament, man. They talk about circumcision a lot.
Hey, I could be wrong, right? This could, and hey, if you add computer simulation theory, there definitely could be a God that just went click and created all of this. So
yeah, hey, there you go.
I do lean towards computer simulation with a lot of the scientific stuff coming out now. And hey, if you worship God, there's nothing wrong with that. But I believe that the sun is, and we come from the sun's light, right? Yeah. That energy, all the sun's energy has formed everything on this
carbon-based life form is powered by the sun.
And Jesus is the earth, right? God is the sun, creator of his son, which is the earth, which grew us, right? So that's why both Jesus and God, the higher up above, Jesus' Father, are both God.
Yes, we like the Matrix, by the way. Yes.
They both created life. They both created us, right? One created the other. That one created us. And the fact that we don't worship the sun and the earth for giving us fucking life, and we destroy it and we pollute it and we argue about whether or not we should fucking pollute it is the definition of pure fucking insanity. How this isn't the forefront of every political platform is fucking beyond me.
Yeah.
You want a real conspiracy? That's the fucking conspiracy. Conspiracy on the planet Earth.
Let's protect and conserve. Well, my hope, and I am the optimist for those who have for the fan out there that has never listened to Colin and I am the optimist of the group. My whole thing is that I'm hoping that technology takes us
going down.
Well, maybe, but I hope that technology gets us to a place where we can really quickly, hack the damage that has been done, and not just by us, but also by time and cycles of the world. Like, I want to get to a place where technology can save us if a super volcano erupts. I want to get to that place. Not save us as in save every single human, although that would be awesome. I'm saying save us as a species, so we don't go back to, ice age, having to restart things. I'm an optimist about that. I hope that could happen.
You want to talk about technology conspiracies? Sure. I think we not only should, but definitely can now, and moving forward, we should be using technology to house and feed everyone on the fucking planet. turn this biosphere into a well-oiled fucking machine.
Yep.
A home that we all live on, a
Yep.
home that just self-preserves itself,
Yes.
right? Get back to the basics.
Yep.
And we all think, oh, well, humans have infinite wants and we wouldn't be happy with just focusing on food and clothing and housing everyone. Who the fuck knows? If all we ever worried about was just surviving and interacting with each other and being with each other and whatever else, what other culture that breeds once we get down to those basics, you're telling me people wouldn't be happy with that, with not having to do 40 hours a week and just doing enough to survive and then just being with each other and relaxing and keeping stress levels down. And sure, some people might want to do more and they can give back. And like, if you're saying we get rid of TV and partying and all these other distractions and bullshit and knickknacks, and like we participate in these things because it's slowly become our culture over time, not because we have this inherent genetic need to have trinkets. I'm not saying like there is something to say with like shiny objects and things like that. Like
it's been there right from the start.
A lot of animals have that instinct to like hoard shiny objects, and that's precious materials within the earth. I understand.
Hey,
that.
No. Back to the beginning. I mean, that was a shiny apple on that tree, if you believe in that.
Right. But I just think if that's what we use technology for, and reduce suffering, and then we wouldn't have to say like, I'm not saying that we need to get to this point because I'm unhappy with the way things are. I have a great life, but even from a selfish perspective, having to just know that there's that much suffering out in the world is exhausting. And I'm not even the ones that are being oppressed and are suffering from this.
No, I'm grateful every day for the life that I have because I know that those people are out there, and it's the majority of the world. We live in the top 5% of the standard of human life. We have the top 5%, but we're the top 1% of the world. Take out what's in your bank account. I mean, the way that we live, the things that we get to do, the life we get to experience, compared to a lot of these people in these third world countries which is the majority of the planet. Mm-hmm. and how they live. And I think that many times people live in a bubble, and they need to be sobered up a little bit as to what else is out there, because it's so radically unbalanced.
Well, but we also don't get fed the information that would get us to this point where we could be empathetic or even realize all these things that are going on. Right. A lot of this stuff is we're distracted as these things come out. The last climate report that came out, mm-hmm. that was saying, it was a report, I want to say it was a research paper in Europe, but I could be wrong. But there was a report that went about how drastically we need to change climate or reduce climate change now. And when that report went out, it went out 3 days early, so it could be out on Black Friday.
Yeah.
It went out on Black Friday on purpose because people are fucking distracted with things. You ever watch these big malls in the States when on Black Friday, when they fucking open the doors, people fucking trample each other, step on each other.
I've seen it happen on Boxing Day here in Canada. I've seen it happen.
There was a girl that got stabbed in a Walmart in the States, and everyone just fucking walked past her. Like, we're like, fuck. Like, we need to look the fuck up and realize what the fuck is going on.
See, okay, and part of the dogma of religion is the thing that frustrates me, because I think it oppresses people sometimes. But I think, I just think that when you have a legalism that is so, or a religion that is so dogmatic that it controls people, I'm not a huge fan of that. But what I am a fan of is what some of the churches in these religions do, some of the actions that they do. Like, for example, I know people who have been on, and I was on a couple myself. I was in my late teens, early 20s, and youth groups from churches would go and do service projects, and some of them would go down to Mexico and help people build houses.
Yeah, my cousin went and did that.
Okay, and when your cousin came back, were they really grateful for everything that they have here?
Oh, 100%.
Right.
And I'm not saying that there's always going to be good parts
of
anything.
I'm saying everybody in our society, in the first world nation, needs to do that.
Oh, yeah.
I'm saying whether it's through a church program, or whether it's through a social program, whether it's through an Oprah program, whether it's through whatever, I think everybody needs to sober up and realize what else is in the world other than what's in our little bubble here. Yeah. Which is, now being so propelled towards self. Mm-hmm. And I mean, we're getting away from conspiracy theories on this, but, you could easily wrap a conspiracy theory around this, that there is a group of people or organizations, or whatever you want to call it, that want us to be dulled, and they want us to be blind, and they want us to be confused, so they can shoehorn their agenda into this world, whatever that agenda might be. Who knows? Like maybe the government knows. I mean, the government, that's such a generic term. I don't mean to say it like that. Maybe that the key people in power know that our Earth, whether it's us that made it happen or sped it up, or it's just about to happen, maybe they know within the next 15 years there is a cataclysmic event about to happen, globally. Ice caps, it's about to happen. They know the truth. And so their job is just to manage us until that happens. I think about conspiracy theories very similar to parenting. There are lies that we tell our children, lies of omission. We keep things from our children because we want to keep them safe.
Yeah.
We keep truths away from them.
I don't think that's the intention, though.
No, well, hold on, though. Like, maybe it started as the intention. Maybe it didn't. Maybe it started as the intention, and the first couple times that it happened, wherever time and place that it did happen, where the people in power did this, put people in the dark, gave them a truth that wasn't the real truth to protect them, similar to how a parent would a child. Maybe that happened 2, 3, 4, 5 times, and then it started to erode. And compromises came into that. And now we're at a place where it becomes, okay, the status quo to say, no, we're doing this just because we want to stay into power, not because we care about the people that we're doing it to.
I think the flaw in that logic, for lack of a better term, is just the historic repetition of the strategy of keeping people distracted. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
Because you look at even the Roman Empire, which is, one of the most famous empires that has been researched historically.
Absolutely.
When the poor got to a point of revolution, what did they do? They had big circuses, and they had the gladiators come out, and they had entertainment, and they had distraction. And we've always had that distraction as a strategy to keep the majority, cogs in the wheel, and to keep them doing what with the people at the top want them to do. And if you want to get into, and this is 100% conspiratorial, I'm not saying this is the way it is or is going to be, but you want to talk about
nothing of this podcast is actually the way it is.
Right? You want to, and this is just like a thought, not even necessarily a thought exercise, but just kind of where my brain is going at this point in time.
Sure.
You want to talk about technology to save us from, say, climate change or these cataclysmic thank you, events, like
a kitty cat.
Thank you. The powers that be may have that technology, and if we get to a point where it can thin out a good chunk of the population, these people don't give a fuck about us.
The Thanos theory, like Avengers.
There you go. That's actually, maybe that's a big giant metaphor.
Sure.
I mean, if this is just a period of time, they would need to wait out and just get rid of a majority of people who maybe that's what they're fucking doing, or it's just this self-preservation of all these higher ups and powers to be that just don't give a fuck.
Absolutely.
They have their money. They're going to be dead in 20 years anyways. And it's this constant game of, it's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. It's not going to happen to me. President Trump has just been reported as saying he doesn't give a fuck about the deficit. He has said this in meeting rooms and has been sourced and reported that he said, I won't be here. When warnings of the debt crisis have come to his forefront, he is quoted as saying, not necessarily on the record, he is quoted as saying by sources that, I won't be here when that happens.
Now, I take that. Okay. I'm not a Trump fan. And while I'm doing this, by the way, Stuck on the Web has thrown in a bunch of comments as I kind of go on this point. It's going to take a minute if you want to maybe go in there and see if there's anything that we should be adding to what we're saying. I'm not a fan of Trump. But I will say this, the man has definitely gone, like you listen to the way he speaks, not just now that he's in power, but I think about the way he spoke on Howard Stern. I used to listen to Howard Stern sometimes, and I heard a few times, or a few episodes where Donald Trump was a part of it. The guy speaks in sarcasm sometimes. The guy speaks in hyperbole. The guy does speak in ways that you got to hear the inflection. Now, if he did say that exact quote, let's just say that he said, "I don't give a fuck about the deficit."
Well, he didn't say I don't give a fuck.
Right, but whatever the quote is, whatever the direct quote is,
problem.
Yeah, okay. So say it's okay. The deficit is not my problem.
Yeah.
Did he say it did he say it in a way to make people in the room laugh?
Yeah.
And then go back and say, okay, yeah, we got to figure this out. Did he say that? Or are people taking that quote and now misusing it to let their point come across? And again, I say that not as a fan of Trump, because I'm not one. I believe he has lied publicly, and I believe that is wrong, and you shouldn't be doing that. But that being said, we don't know. And sometimes it's really like, I'm a big Colbert fan. I love watching Stephen Colbert. However, there are times where I think that he goes for the easy joke, the thing that's really, really simple to pin on Trump because of the other stuff that is very obvious, the obvious lies and things like that. So something that he would say sarcastically would be reported as truth.
And this happens on all sides of the political spectrum. And that's an important thing to note is, it's what somebody said and reported. So you just don't know how it was said.
Yeah.
And that's a great point. And that's not really a conspiracy. That's just, what's going on in the world today.
Sure.
Which is pretty crazy.
But at the end of the day, you said something on a podcast that we did a few sessions ago, might have been in the last one, where and I do believe this. I believe that there is a lot of stuff that's been hidden from us. And when a new president comes in, you look at how every president has aged in the United States in particular, how they have aged, and they many times look like they've aged a lot more than 8 years.
Yeah.
They really, really do.
Obama went gray real fast.
He did. And so, day one, they go in and they get their first real security briefing. What are they told? And that's, it's disconcerting. But when I go back to the parental example, like, for example, let's just say that, President Obama goes in on his first day and he is suddenly told that, hey, just so you're aware, we stop 40 to 50 actual attacks per week that on this country, and we don't report it to the public because we don't want to create mass hysteria, but we're ahead of the curve. This is what we're doing. This is what's happening. And these are the things that we're doing to stop them. Here is the proof of it happening. And it's unequivocal, right? To me, I look at that and go, okay, as a citizen, like Men in Black said this, and and it's not Men in Black, but this is where I heard the quote for the first time. Tommy Lee Jones says to Will Smith, Will Smith is like, hey, why? He just finds out that there's aliens all over the place and they're hiding in plain sight. And he says, why don't we just tell people about this? People are reasonable. And Tommy Lee Jones looks at him and says, no, man, a person is reasonable, but people go crazy.
Yeah.
People go nuts. People go hysterical, mass hysteria. And so I don't know, like I personally am in leadership. You're in leadership. Mm-hmm. And there are things that you in your job know that your employees don't necessarily know, and you don't let them in on it because you don't want to create hysteria. Yeah. And I'll give an example. What about budget? You know that the budget is tight.
In your organization, right? Budget's tight.
Sure. Oh yeah.
You guys strap in. We're a new company.
Right. And so
not a new company.
No. Branch. But a new branch, and you're trying to feel it out, and you don't know how things are, and you've got a certain amount of staff, but you don't know if it's the right amount or whatever. In discussions with the higher ups, sometimes it comes down to some brainstorming where it's like, you know what? We may eliminate 3 positions in the next 6 months, but we may not. And our goal is not to do that. You don't immediately go to your staff and say, hey, they're thinking about eliminating 3 positions.
100%. You got to have all the facts before you start throwing shit out there.
Now, how complex is a fucking government? So complex.
Can you look up yellow vests in Europe? So Stuck on Web has said that for 1 month, people are on strike. Everyone wears yellow vests. This is in Europe he's talking about.
That sounds like France to me.
Yeah, that's what he's saying, France.
Okay, yeah.
So what do you know about it?
What do I know about it? Yeah. Nothing about the yellow vests in particular, but what I do love about the French people is that the thing I love about the French people is they
I have
are
not heard about this. How is this not being reported?
Well, there you go. And who's our media controlled by? And there you go. What do they want us to know about? What don't they want us to know about? What don't they care about us knowing about?
Can you elaborate for me? Maybe Stuck on Webcam. You could be our young Jamie.
Young Jamie.
We'll let you know. Just keep. When these are coming out, we're going to do them probably every Saturday around 1 or 3. What do you know about, I forget what the act was called. Bill Clinton signed a bill to kind of monopolize on media. Do you know anything about this?
I don't.
Somebody help me out here.
Police in Paris have fired. Okay, so this is 5 hours ago. and I'm citing the BBC here. Okay. And there's a video footage, but there's an advertisement for the NHL that I have to watch first.
Before you do that, I'm gonna ask Second Web. So this is something that I've heard a bunch on Jimmy Dore show. I love Jimmy Dore, but he's talking about when Bill Clinton was president, he signed some act, and it took all the media outlets and consolidated them all into like six. Like there's 6 media outlets in all of the world or all of America.
So they're all conglomerations.
Yeah, conglomerations, and it's
oh Jesus!
It was a bill or something.
This was 5 years ago. Okay, so or five hours ago, I should say. Police in Paris have fired rubber bullets and tear gas as a 4th weekend of anti-government protest across France turned violent. Jesus. Look at this. This is 5 hours ago, man.
Holy fuck! Where is that?
More than 700 people have been taken into custody nationwide.
What was the protest about?
Parisian hospital.
Anti-government?
Oh, I'm going to read it. This is on BBC News. Yeah. Parisian hospital authorities said 126 people have been injured in the city, none seriously. 3 police officers were also hurt. The Yellow Vest movement opposed fuel tax rises, but minister says it has been hijacked by ultra-violent protesters. And that's been 125,000 demonstrators gathered. I love France for this, by the way. France, and if the people don't like something, they come out in masses. They go on strike. I love that about the French people, by the way. I will say that. Now, if they are getting hijacked and other agendas are being put into those demonstrations, that is a really, really sad thing, because what it does is it muddies democracy and what democracy is supposed to stand for. The Yellow movement.
Sorry. Where does France get its oil?
I don't know.
I'm just curious as to why what's the spike in fuel costs?
Yeah.
Is this is it Europe? Isn't Saudi Arabia? Is Venice? No, it's not Venezuela.
I have no. What's that?
Europe doesn't get their fuel from Venezuela. Right?
I have no idea. I assume that OPEC.
They have their own oil companies.
Yeah, and I'm sure that like Canada does too, but at the end of the day, though, a lot of OPEC is still.
But
OPEC,
right, of course, OPEC. So has Saudi Arabia increased fuel production, like oil production?
I have no idea where that's at.
This is a big thing, right?
I know that oil pricing.
This is a big thing with Saudi Arabia.
There's a lot of stuff happening in the economy right now.
We buy from Saudi, and this is a big problem with Saudi Arabia and the United States being in bed together. Is they're manipulating fuel costs by how much oil is produced.
Sure, it's
related to tax. He's saying so.
It's a fuel tax. That's what I was saying. It's a fuel tax they're protesting.
I get it. Like a carbon tax.
Who knows? That's
for the environment.
That's a new name for it in Canada.
See, here's the tough thing: is the people are getting charged for this, but these companies are the ones that should be getting charged for these.
Sure,
that should be getting these pollutant taxes. But no, I guess that all kind of trickles down.
Where are we at with the Yellow Vest movement?
Yeah, carbon tax.
Protesters and so-called because
it's tough though. We need to switch to renewable energy. Like, I'm sorry, we got to look at this systemically. I mean, it sucks, and it sucks that everyone's paying for this. But this should be the reason why. And this is the problem with government not giving a fuck because they have their own money. Like, we need to be pushing towards clean energy sources so that we don't have to have this tax. Like, this tax means that something needs to be fixed. Like, we don't need to add. I'm not saying that we shouldn't have those taxes. I think those carbon taxes are definitely important, because if we have no regulations, then it's just fucking wild, wild west, and let's just pollute as much as we want. What I'm saying is we should be trying to find the solution so we don't have to have these fucking taxes and not pollute the fucking planet.
I believe, though, that revenue should come from the profits of the companies rather than just the people.
Okay, sure.
I think there's got to be a burden of responsibility for the companies that create a product that everybody wants / needs. I mean, everybody needs fuel, right? Okay, so they have this need. So at the end of the day, there should only be a certain amount of profit that can be made out of that, because it's a need. It's a basic. It's a human need. And then if that need is something that hurts the planet, there needs to be a degree of being able to move away from that need and being able to usher in a place where those companies, agencies, whatever, can find their profits in things that are better for the planet. I think I think that putting a huge gas tax on people, because people have to use gas, is another burden.
Yeah.
That's just where I come 100%. From.
100%. And the average person struggles enough as it is. And this is a flaw to the corporation system, is to having a system where you can have all these corporations, is that everybody's out for themselves and their own self-preservation. So an oil company is not going to stop making you feel and lobby for you to have oil.
Yeah.
Why would they try to usher in change?
Yeah.
Especially if switching to renewable energy source is not going to give them the same bottom line that they're used to.
Right.
Like,
so they go out there and they muddy the waters, and
moral.
it's like, here's a good example. The cigarette
And then we just throw
cigarette
tax
companies
on top of it, and it doesn't fucking change anything, and it just
That's
ends
right.
up being a burden on us. We all still need to fucking get around.
That's right. Cigarette companies is a great example of this for me, because here they is as a product that they put onto the market that causes health concerns for people, and it's proven, but they have the ability to hire lobbyists. Have you ever seen the movie Thank You for Smoking?
I've seen some of it.
It's great movie. Two Faces in it. Aaron Eckhart. It's fantastic. Fantastic performance. And it really does a good job of showing that there are people and lobbyists that are hired just for being lobbyists. There's a documentary on that as well. And I the name escapes me right now. Joe Rogan's talked about it a few times, where there are these lobbyists that are hired just to be lobbyists, just to throw out the company's MO. And at the end of the day,
big corporations have hired lobbyists.
Sure.
Amazon has a bunch of them.
Sure. And it's unfortunate that we have that ability to be able to do that, in my opinion, because to me, the cigarette companies should be allowed to make profit on their product for people buying them. However, there should be a burden of responsibility onto the cigarette companies. And there has been. Have you seen the commercials on TV recently about, from the cigarette companies issuing the truth about cigarettes and what they have done in the past? Have you seen these commercials? No. They're insane, man. They're so good. I'm going to try and find one right now.
The tobacco industry.
The tobacco industry. They're forced to do it. And they say it right in the commercial that they are forced to do it because of, I forget which settlement it was. I'll find one right now for you.
And I mean, that's crazy. But these companies, the tobacco industry has not even close to paid for all the negative externalities that it's caused, right? And this is my biggest complaint when it comes to, I'm just going to say, I don't want to say it. I don't want to say capitalism, because we could argue a lot of mechanisms of capitalism, but of corporations. There is no way a lot of these giant corporations, the corporations at the very top, are actually paying the real amount of the negative externalities that they're caused, nor is this even being researched and quantified properly in the most part. And even when it does, it still doesn't retroactively go back and cause these companies to actually pay for the negative externalities that they've caused.
Okay, listen to this.
USA, Laura Lard, RJ Reynolds Tobacco, and Altria to
make
don't
this
do that. Statement about
we'll
the
just watch it.
Of smoking and nicotine. Smoking
so what is this video called? So this is from adage.com.
These are on TV all the time.
Companies intentionally design cigarettes with enough nicotine to create and sustain addiction. It's not easy to quit.
This is because of a lawsuit?
The nicotine actually changes the brain. That's why quitting is so hard.
That's an example. That's crazy. One of the examples of the commercials that are running right now on mainstream TV, and it's as a result of that lawsuit against Big Tobacco, and so that is, I think that's a small, teeny tiny step in the right direction.
But how long did it take for this to happen? And
years and hundreds of millions of dollars.
And this model has been replicated. There's Sugar Coated as a documentary, and I've researched this profusely because I got really obsessed with the topic for a while.
Yeah.
But Sugar goes through the same marketing routine, or what am I looking for? What word am I looking for?
The same rigorous, research, or I don't know, what?
Same protocol, same formula. It's the same marketing formula as the tobacco industry.
Sure.
In this documentary, it's this girl literally quits her job to research this. She's not a nutritionist, but she's in healthcare, nurse or something. She goes to a summit, and there's a nutritionist doctor saying that sweetened iced tea is a good alternative for kids.
Oh, yeah. I've heard this
She's
before.
like, what the fuck? So she asked him about it. He says, oh, there's no scientific consensus that sugar causes diabetes.
There's a reason that there's no scientific consensus, because they'll actually hire people to say the opposing view.
But
so now there's no consensus because they've hired somebody to say the exact opposite of what the truth is.
So it's not even necessarily that the model and formula was to was to say the opposite. What she found, and this is she was going to libraries, like university libraries, and like pulling like dusty boxes out. Also. Yeah, pulling funny. Dusty, boxes out and looking up all. And she found these files of these guys who had won awards for. It was like a marketing award, right?
Yeah.
Like from marketing companies. And it was basically the Academy Awards of marketing awards. And they had won an award.
The Marquis? She won a Marquis?
She won a Marquis.
Oh, that's awesome.
That's so good.
I'm a marketing guy. I'd love to win a Marquis one day.
Yeah. So what the award they won was an award for
best logo, maybe.
For convincing the public of the health benefits of sugar.
Okay. Oh, right.
So what they had done is use the same formula as tobacco. Every time research papers that would come out saying that sugar causes diabetes, they would just nitpick it enough. Yep. They would nitpick it enough to go, oh, well, this isn't enough proof to link to create a correlation between diabetes and sugar. And they just did it. They're still doing it.
And then they can say there's no consensus.
Yeah. If you go to the Canadian Sugar Institute and look through that website, especially for me as being someone in fitness, in the not healthcare industry, but in the health and fitness industry,
sure.
And understanding sugar and having a base knowledge of blood sugar levels and insulin levels and insulin sensitivity and blah, blah, blah.
Mm-hmm.
You go through this website called the Canadian Sugar Institute, and it's borderline fucking propaganda. And if you look at their mission statement is to be advocates for the farmers and producers of sugar.
Yeah.
And it's just crazy. And they're constantly saying it's a lot of statistics about how much carbohydrates you need to survive and blah, blah, blah. And all of these pictures are of like white granule sugar, like really processed sugar.
They're making it look good.
Pictures, and they're making it seem like carbohydrate intake and refined sugar intake is the same fucking thing, which it is not.
Man, now I want a cronut.
And I probably have a sugar addiction to some level because I don't just stop eating. I put sugar in my coffee. That's not the point. The point is this is a real conspiracy. We are being told fucking bullshit so that we can be sold things and keep consuming. These are real conspiracies.
And you bring up something awesome here, because this is a conspiracy that is a capitalistic conspiracy. It's not the government. It's not, overlords, Illuminati. It's not, this is the conspiracy is based on a capitalistic desire. It's based on business. It's based on marketing. It's based on something that isn't the truth, and for no one else's benefits other than a corporation. And profit. Think about the corporations that create conspiracies. That's a whole nother episode.
Well, and the crazy thing when we start talking about corporations is how many of these things that happen that don't get reported. So it may not be a conspiracy, but there are things that don't get reported. Bayer, who produces aspirin, was caught shipping off a bunch of hemoglobin, like blood.
Yep.
So hemoglobin, but blood for hemophiliacs is what I'm trying to say.
Right.
Is transfusion blood that was tainted with the AIDS virus. It was tainted with HIV.
Uh-oh.
And because they didn't want to lose the hundreds of millions of dollars in profit, they shipped it off to Europe.
It became an acceptable risk.
It was an acceptable risk because the fines they would have to pay and the lawsuits they would have to settle were going to be less than the overall profit or at least the losses, right? They were just trying to cut their losses. It's all a mathematical game, and this is the immoral aspect of capitalism, whether you believe in capitalism working or not. Maybe it can, but it's not working in its current form, and this is proof of that.
I don't believe in coal. I believe in clean coal. I don't believe in capitalism. I believe in clean capitalism. I believe in clean capitalism. So, and just Stuck on the Web was talking about how much sugar the amount of sugar that we
it's obscene.
and I you know what, I blame Saturday morning cartoons for that, because I loved me some
my God,
Fruity Pebbles.
That's a joke. He's joking.
Well,
you have to be joking.
Are you kidding me? Okay, watching Saturday morning cartoons, how many cereal ads? I could probably name you. I bet you I could name you 10 breakfast cereals that were advertised to me as a child every Saturday morning, unfiltered, because my parents wanted to sleep in, and I would watch Saturday morning cartoons from 6 a.m. to like noon every Saturday, and every single commercial break had a sugary breakfast cereal commercial, and I wanted those sugary breakfast cereals.
It's just media in
general. I bet you I could name 10 now.
And you're right in the fact that it is it is the culture of selling sugar and sugary products to children.
Sure.
So that is definitely a huge reason for, I mean, but the other thing too is sugar is just so cheap, right? It's a good preservative, so it's easy to put into everything, and
It
it's just
tastes
so
amazing.
cheap. Just any corn syrupy product
now we're
in
getting
general,
into
right?
high fructose corn syrup.
Well, I'm just
sugar,
saying
yeah.
anything corn produced, right? So sugar.
I like me some cane sugar.
The amount of corn byproducts that is in the majority of our food is just insane. There's farms in the States that literally are just contracted to produce corn, and they just spit them into giant fields of corn.
Yeah.
But it's so cheap. But yeah, you're right. There's the media aspect of selling this to kids. You think about it like this. You can't sell cigarettes to kids, highly addictive. You can't sell alcohol to kids, also highly addictive.
Mm-hmm.
So what can you sell to kids? Sugar. Highly addictive.
Yes.
You can market it to them. You can put it in a million different forms.
Yep.
There's a really great metaphoric comparison I saw that I always tell my clients about. Sugar. It was a comparison between sugar, white flour, processed white flour, so not whole grain or whole wheat flour.
Yeah.
White processed flour, and cocaine.
Okay.
They all start from a plant.
Yep.
They all get reduced into a white powder.
Yep.
And they all fuck with your hormones.
Flour does too.
100%.
Interesting.
I'm talking about levels, right?
Yeah.
Like white bread,
levels.
Way worse for the body to just like absorb and filter through and just process within the body than whole wheat, because the body's not meant to just take this spike of certain chemicals, right? Sugar being one of the worst. And it's just a really interesting comparison of just, and you got to think, why are these things so high? Because they're cheap, they're easy to produce. It's again the flaw of having everything just be profit over profit over profit without any other, like, this is a negative externality. It's not even talked about.
No, it's not.
Well, that's not true. It is talked
like,
about by nutritionists, but not as something that's borderline criminal.
Here's how far down the rabbit hole we are, though, because when it comes to sugar, there's levels of sugar that people in the sugar debate, if you want to call it that. There's a documentary called The King of Corn, and it shows the process of turning corn into high fructose corn syrup, among many other things, and how it's fundamentally changing even the DNA of our body. Like if you're taking a hair strand and analyze it, how much sugar is actually in there, and it's because of the high fructose corn syrup. And anyway, it's a fascinating documentary. So it's so fascinating that I look at that, I watch it, and it's made me go, oh, I don't want high fructose corn syrup in my life. Mm-hmm. Okay. And so I'll look on the shelf sometimes. And have you ever seen Throwback Pepsi?
Throwback Pepsi.
Have you ever seen it?
Yeah.
So Throwback Pepsi is like, it's not just the can, it's got like the Back to the Future style Pepsi can, the old school 80s, nostalgic. I'm a child of the 80s. And I love that. But no, it's actually made with real sugar. It's made with cane sugar as opposed to high fructose corn syrup. And I pop that top and I put it in a glass of ice and I have a sip of that, and it reminds me of the 80s. Yeah. It reminds me. It's an experience. Okay, but here's how deep I am into the process. It's still not fucking good for me. It's still terrible for me. It's still taking it in one drink, enough sugar for me for the whole fucking week or the whole day or whatever it is, from a nutrition standpoint. But yet I look at the Throwback Pepsi as the healthy alternative to the current crap they're selling with the high fructose corn syrup. Now, how much of a conspiracy is that the sugar industry has got people actually thinking that cane sugar processed, you said, is healthy compared to the high fructose corn syrup?
I know, it's obscene. It's still fucking sugar. Natural sugar is my favorite thing.
Natural
sugar. What the fuck does that mean?
You know what? And I mean, I don't know. Like, is coconut sugar a real thing? Is that a healthier alternative to the granulated fine processed shit that's on the shelf? Or is it just, again, we're going to sell some coconut sugar now because we've had some extra coconut and we're going to process that shit and we're going to toxify it the way that these things, and make it really bad for you? Or is it actually a healthy alternative? I have no fucking idea.
Do you know that I pulled this, it's not a chart. It's a picture of a can of Pepsi and it has a bunch of little facts on it. And I pulled it off for Michelle, who runs the group at KFY. Michelle, you've seen her.
I've seen her.
And she's just like a Pepsi addict, right? Tiny little thing because she's so active. Also one of my besties.
Yeah.
Bestie
Michelle.
but she drinks so much Pepsi, it's like an addiction. So I printed out, I couldn't find Pepsi, I found Coke. It has all these little things on it. Do you know there's so much sugar in Coca-Cola that they have to put a chemical in Coca-Cola so that when you ingest all that sugar, you don't throw up?
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Yeah. Isn't that insane?
Yeah.
And the amount of sugar that's in a can of Coca-Cola hits the same receptors and releases enough dopamine as cocaine. Oh no, it's heroin.
I've heard the heroin.
Doing heroin.
I've heard the heroin example before on some of these documentaries that I've watched. Yeah.
So just to wrap up, we talked about a few fun conspiracies. We talked.
By the way, Suck on Thumb, I appreciate where you're coming from when it comes to that. The idea of social awareness and consciousness and what we have to do to care for people and all that. That's another podcast entirely.
Yeah.
The socialism and the burden of responsibility of taking care of your people. I love that. And that's something we will talk about. So Can you subscribe? Can you subscribe to us? Is that possible?
You can subscribe to the Colin Cutler channel. Yes.
Okay. Subscribe to this channel, and
subscribe to Colin
at
Cutler.
other times we will come out and speak about other things.
Yeah, and today we've talked about some fun conspiracies. We talked about the varying world of gray of what is a conspiracy, how the word conspiracy can be manipulated just to disprove any argument or just to shut down any argument. We also talked about things that you could categorize as conspiracies just for the fact that they're not even fucking talked about. And a really good phrase I've heard from numerous alternative news medias and just people that I follow and activists is if you want to really know what the real problems of the world are, the things that we really need to solve, think about all the things that happen that aren't talked about on a regular basis.
Yes.
And those are the things we need to think about. So do your own research, get out there, explore the world of gray, because in a world and society fixated on these black and white arguments, we are here to explore the world of gray. I am Kelowna's Cougar Meat Kid, Colin Cutler.
That's Hardy.
Sorry,
and I am the man with no title, Mike Chisholm.
All right, everyone. Till next time. Peace.
And love. Who gets the bonus back content? Who gets the outro?
Facebook Live.
Facebook Live gets